This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
10 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. That's our time this morning on the Power Zone. I'm excited, and you can pick it up in my voice, right? Because Bonamelo is here in studio with us this morning, just pushing it together. And we're talking about that foundation, that being the Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation. I told you guys that on this show, we encourage active citizenship, right? So this is exactly what Bonamelo is doing through the Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation in terms of just making sure that they push that active citizenry around the community of Davidton, right? So I told you guys that whenever you are, whatever space you occupy, identify a gap and try by all means to fill that. And that is exactly what the Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation have done here, just doing a lot of work in terms of helping people within the community of Davidton. So Bonamelo is here. He'll tell us about it. I don't want to take the words out of his mouth in terms of what this project is all about, who they are, and what they are really aiming to do in terms of pushing this project even beyond, I guess, the borders of Davidton. But if you are at home and you know Bonamelo, you know the work that they do, or you just want to engage with us around the issues of being an active citizen, you're welcome to call in on 0861 987 000. We are also on Twitter at hashtag PowerZone. We are at PowerFM 987. I'm at Katlego Legodi _ so you're welcome to engage with us. I don't know about Bonamelo's Twitter handle. Are you in that space as well?
Currently, we're just on Facebook and Instagram, sir.
All right, and then we find you as
Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation on both platforms.
Awesome. That is Bonamelo. He's a bit shy, guys, so please. So Bonamelo, you find them there on the social pages. They are active on Facebook, so just go there and check them out. And let's rally behind this discussion this morning. My brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks for introducing us to your audience as well.
Yeah, no, it's not often that we have guests in the studio in this early hours of the morning. So that's why I was like, I'm excited because I saw you, in the lobby there. I'm like, okay, I didn't know what is happening. But then I really appreciate the fact that you made time to come through in this godly hours of the morning just to join us on the show.
Thank you very much. Actually, for me, it's quite prophetic because in the Christian faith, it's the hour of prayer. So
yes.
Only good things can come out of it. So we are serious about being serious.
You're spot on. I always tell people that, and this show is positioned very, very wisely and strategically because it happens at 0000 and then between 0300. So those are the times where at 12 o'clock, people are kneeling down, they're praying. At 3 o'clock, there's another group that comes through and then prays. So we are in between that space. So we are blessed and anointed. But I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, sir.
So tell us about the foundation. But let us in on who Bonamelo is and how did you come to just come through with a foundation here that would see it doing a lot of work within the community of Davidton.
Well, thank you very much. I guess the hint is also in the name, being my name as well, included in it. I got to thank my parents for that. I think it's a beautiful name. Bonamelo essentially means prosperity, and Melisizwe, direct translation, just standing up for all nations. So that inspired the name behind the foundation to say that we want to inspire opportunities of prosperity for all nations. We don't want to be limited by race. We don't want to be limited by ethnicity or any of those current challenges that, barricade in terms of assisting where there's a need. So we want to be pushed by a need, not by a particular demographic of things.
Yeah. So you decided that, okay, I'm going to take my names and I'm going to just make sure that I rally behind them, to benefit out of whatever good that comes with this names, this prophetic. But then, and then you decided to come through with a foundation. When did this just come about? Which year did you decide that, we're going with this? And really what pushed you to come through with the foundation through Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation?
the foundation is registered this year, officially from Jan 2022.
Yeah.
However, I personally have been in the space for the past, I would say, about 5 years. So in growing in the space, mostly in the corporate social responsibility space, one got inspired. And I come from Davidton. I am a product of Davidton. So being a product of that community and better understanding the challenges that we face, I was inspired to be part of the solutions that one wants to see. You know, most people continue to talk about change agents, people to come into the spaces of need and, you know, coming with solutions. But we are mostly faced with challenges where the people we want solutions from are not from the actual communities that are facing those challenges. So the solutions are nice, but having some insight and depth into the solution you're trying to bring to that problem is also quite advantageous. So that's one of the things that I got inspired in as an individual. So we started doing National Science Weeks by partnering with the National Research Foundation from 2018. And successfully we were able to do that for about two years, just before COVID hit. And just partnering with quite a number of organizations as well to make that happen. And in my growth journey, you meet mentors, you meet, you know, partners, and you establish strong relationships. And last year, I was chairperson of another charity organization of like-minded young people. And it just never hit home for me, you know, because I always knew that I believe I have a ministry of my own, you know. And then I decided to register Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation to legitimize it. So, yeah, we are a full NPO and public benefit organization for tax exemption purposes.
Yeah, but I'm getting a sense that you've been at it. You know, it's just the whole formalizing of this structure and the foundation just came through last year. But when you look at it, you've actually been doing the groundwork and you come from Davidton. Is this something of you maybe having to experience some of these things, you know, having to see communities or community members that are not doing well. And then it has always bothered you to say, I need to be the change agent. I need to come back and give into my community. And I guess then if that was the case, then it was easier for you to really know where to go, where this foundation is concerned. In the community of Davidton, what are those issues that are really playing out there that pushed you to say that indeed we need this foundation and this is how we're going to go about it? Absolutely.
First and foremost, I think just having a heart for giving is really a gift.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for everyone. It's a ministry on its own, and I'm eternally grateful to be one of the people that have been, you know, granted that gift. And some of the challenges, not necessarily particular to Davidton, but in township setups, you know, is access. That is access to information, access to opportunities. Those things are out there. It's just accessing them that is just so difficult. And growing up in the same community, I fortunately had the opportunity to, you know, study outside of the community in terms of, you know, high school wise and, you know, later on in tertiary. And that exposure in hindsight, when I was reflecting, showed me that there is a gap really that needs someone who's been exposed to it to be a part of that solution to bridge that gap. And being inspired from there, everything just happened organically.
But yeah, I love the fact that, you know, it just becomes easier when one has been outside of the community to come back and try shape it because really the lack of access that you've mentioned is something big and only when you get to move and go to a university and the like, so move to another city and then you come back and then you're like, you know, I think maybe I need to fix this, we need to do this and we need to do that. Did you get the sense of support from the community that you were serving when you were doing all of this? Was it a welcome move from them to say that, listen, we've always been looking for someone to come up with solutions here, and here is a young man that is coming back to give back from the community? How have they been receiving this foundation?
The reception has been quite good, but I will also honestly say that it's got its own challenges.
Yeah.
Most of the time, in my experiences in reaching out to the communities, is actually a pushback because they assume that you are affiliated in some shape or form politically.
Yeah.
And this has a political motive to it. And more than being receptive, they push back because in politics, many promises have been made and not so many deliveries on those promises.
Yeah.
So you have certain barriers to break first. And that's why personally for me, it's a personal goal.
Yeah.
In this foundation, I pledged first to do something before I can get support from anyone else, because I wanted to be different, to say that I will not stop doing something just because I did not get funding for it.
Yep.
And I wanted to be a man of my word in that regard, to say that if I say we're going to have, for example, in this instance, a food drive, I'm not going to wait for, Katlego to come in and say, Bonamelo, here's some money. And then that can happen. So should Katlego not be able to come in with that, I am personally committing to say that this is my first contribution, because this is pushing me from the inside. And then it makes it easier for people to rally with you and then break those barriers as well, where people might think that it's because of affiliation, it's because of, something you might get in return. And there's this assumption that charity organizations in the townships or in those communities, that they are funded, by major companies and they have money. So more than anything, it stops about being the impact and the need and actually a battle for wanting to fight for actually the money that you don't have.
It's just one of those situations. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, if everyone just wants to go for the same pie, and that's why then you see also a lot of these organizations then mushrooming. And you're right as well. It's an unfortunate position that an organization or a foundation like yours would find itself in when you want to step in and help, and then you still see people skeptical about what you're bringing to the table, but you're still seeing people really associating you with a certain political party because of what you've just mentioned, that the promises were made, and now our people are like, are you going to deliver? Are you not? What can turn that tide? Could it maybe take a community involvement here? What could turn the tide in people really now seeing because we always push for people to be activists, right? In their whatever space that they find themselves in. You being a change agent, you are an activist in your own space where people can base their hopes on you to come through with a solution. So when there's that gap and disconnect because of actions of other organizations that came and made false promises, that places you at a disadvantage. How can we turn this tide and break this gap, this unfortunate gap that organizations like yours find themselves in?
Well, both a disadvantage and an advantage. Coming into a space that is not necessarily organized is not always necessarily a bad thing. My thing and our organization, what we stand for is being intentional. Being intentional always, in my experience, breaks that barrier and that gap for someone to have some faith in you, because it needs to start with you. So if you are intentional, I truly believe that, by the grace of God, you will be able to start those steps. You yourself personally, and be a testament of what you claim to want to represent or bring to those communities. So first and foremost, being intentional is very important. Secondly, I'm a believer. I'm a man of faith. I might not necessarily be where most people might be when they profess such. But trust you me, This purpose is bigger than me. This vision is bigger than me, and that pushes me, even when one thinks that some things are not possible. And the only, I would say, trick to faith is in the unknown. However, in the certainty, that so shall it be.
Yeah. Tell us about then the makeup of the foundation. Is it a one-man show? Are you still trying to gather soldiers, foot soldiers that will try to push it with you as you're building this movement? But how is it structured? And also, I heard you talk about the National Science Week earlier on. Is the foundation just basically structured to just tap into different spaces of how you can be impactful within the society? Or yours is just campaign driven? This time around, it will be a food drive. The next day, it will be something else. And the next day, it will be something else. Or you just basically are just multifaceted in the work that you do?
Well, thank you, Katlego. Our ideal goal is to, attract collaborators and partners, whether be it corporate or individuals, for the long term. And to be multifaceted, because there are many challenges in the communities that we are trying to have an impact in. And, challenges from nutrition, skills development, education initiatives, like you were mentioning the National Science Week. And you touched on something in your previous question where you were talking about, getting community involvement.
Yeah.
We do have quite a few foot soldiers on ground. My goodness, by God's grace, offering their time for free, which is very amazing.
Yeah.
And whenever we try to get into the communities, and campaign, they are there with the community members because they understand them better, and they are able to articulate the problem better and the solutions that we are trying to come up with. So this initiative, being the food drive, is one of many that we want to do. But essentially, we don't just want to be an event-based organization. We just want to partner with, collaborators that can help us take this thing very far.
Yeah. Because
we need sustainable programs in our communities and not just once-offs, just because at a particular time this particular need, is I guess heightened more than the other times. Yeah.
My guest this morning is Bonamelo Moloi. He's the founder and chairperson of Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation. And this morning we're talking about their food drive that they are running. We're just also getting candid and finding out about the foundation, where they start from, where they come from, and where they're hoping to see themselves. Very impactful. I always tell you guys about just being active. And here we have young people that, you heard him there saying they're food soldiers already on the ground and working here. Some of them just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. We need people whose hearts and minds are in the right places. So if you are one person that wants to weigh in, you're welcome to on 0861 987 000. I wanted to find out as well, when I'm there, to say about the food drive. But tell me about how it came about. I see that there are families that have already been identified within David. And how are you expecting for this to roll out?
Well, we trust in God. We trust in God. It's a God-inspired initiative that we're in. Again, having identified that a December time is quite a heavy time for those that are less advantaged, because, school children are home and we know that children can eat. So then one of the basic things, that needs to be in the household during that time is enough food. And we have started this initiative not only to focus on December, because then what? Then there's January, and
beyond December, whatever. I was going to ask you that to say, you're mentioning the festive season, but then beyond that, what happens?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why some of the items we are asking for them in the size and quantities that we're asking them in, because you don't want, just something to last only for this month, whereas we know that January I guess most people recently have heard they're calling a journey worry.
We are worried, man.
So if those that are working, are worried, what more than those that cannot afford as much as some people can? So some of the quantities in the food drive that we are asking for are to cater, for those 2 months, especially whilst those kids now are going back to school. And one of the things that they should not be worrying about is having a meal in their stomach.
All right. So what Bonamelo is doing here, he's rallying also for you at home to come through and make this a success, right? In terms of whatever you can contribute, in terms of, you just impacting and touching one's life. You never know. I mean, that act of goodwill can go a long way in changing one's life just for the better. So he'll let us in on the details on how we can go about this in a moment. But you at home, you're welcome to also just spread your wings within whatever community that you find yourself, identify that gap and just become that change agent. All right, there are a whole lot of Bonamelos in us. All right, so so everyone, wherever you're planted, just make sure that you're really behind this. Are these families that reached out? Or this you had to do the research in terms of looking at whatever is happening within Davidton to say there are those less fortunate that are in need of our intervention here. Did you have to do the groundwork to find out who are these people within the communities?
There was absolutely some homework that needed to be done, and I thank my team. That is, you refer to them as foot soldiers that are within the community. We actually went house to house and knocked, whilst rallying to get, people to just sign up to be on our beneficiary list. And of course, some of those challenges were coming up to say, hey, what are you affiliated with? And we were able to identify those families like that. And having our foot soldiers being in the community assisted a lot, because they could identify very quickly which house to knock in and which house to skip for now, based on priority. So that assisted a lot, and in part of that vetting process in identifying those beneficiaries, that process was done.
So how when are you expecting to roll this out? How are you expecting for it to roll out? Let's say I have a little $20 in my account and then I want to forward it to you. When can we expect to? I mean, we are just a week, if not two, away from December. So those kids, they'll be coming home and the likes. When have you positioned for this project to start gaining ground in the community?
The handover date of the grocery hampers is the 10th of December.
10th of December.
So we still have about a good week and a half. And everyone is welcome. Onale 10 randa, onale 50 randa, onale 5,000 randa. God bless you. Everyone is welcome. You've got one toothpaste that you have. You've got one sanitary pad. Baby, you're gonna say, hey, Bonamelo, I don't have money for maize meal, but I do have a connect that says it can give you toothpaste and the likes, because it's not only limited to food but to the basic need that we are trying to bridge the gap therein. So everyone is welcome, be it the item itself or be it a financial contribution.
So how do we then rally behind this project? Let us in on, and then let's get it right, man, so that people don't miss it. The next thing you said 0 instead of a 1 on the account number, and it bounces back. So let's get it right. So you basically are wanting or calling on the nation, the public, the Power family to rally behind you. How do we rally behind you? How do we make sure that really this project becomes a success, as impactful as you want it to be in the community and in those people's lives that you would want to help here?
Well, Katlego, I'm hoping that by that you are saying that, Bonamelo, I'm raising my hand as well to be part of your first contributors.
Of course, man. Of course. Without a doubt, because you're here. So how do I start and say, people, please rally behind this man when I don't believe in the process? I'm a big champion for such initiatives, and I always want to make sure that I'm somewhere there, in that space. So I'm the first one. I'll start, and then I would invite others to also rally behind this. But how do we actually go about it?
Thank you very much, sir. So we do have a registered bank account. That is the foundation's bank account. No one would be contributing any monies directly to an individual. And then my contact number is 065 922 8572. I am willing and open to answer any questions that someone might have in terms of if you have actual items, where do you deliver them, where do you drop them off, by when should you do that? Ideally, by the coming weekend of the 3rd, just so that we can collate everything and package it the way we should for the 10th. So we are open to monetary donations, as I said. An account number that I can provide. Unfortunately, I don't know it off by head.
I'm trying to check it here as well. I was going to say, this is the standard bank account number, right?
The standard bank account number.
So the account holder is Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation. The account number is 1017140842. So that is 1017140842. The branch name is Mall of Africa. The account type is current. So please use your name as a reference, right? I can actually be a promoter here, and let's make sure that
Thank you very much.
So that is Bonamelo, guys, coming through from the Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation. 065 922 8572. That's where you find him as well. If you have any further question around the work that they do, how you can rally behind them, the 10th of December is that date that has been identified as the handover date or the rollout date. So if you are also within the community of Davidton, you're welcome to just rally behind the foot soldiers. I'm sure it's going to be a day of fun, a day of hope, but just a day of giving. And I'm sure you guys would actually welcome anyone wanting to come through and form part of the day with you guys.
Absolutely. I guess this will give people as well an opportunity to witness that these people are actually quite intentional about what they are doing, and hopefully inspire people to be more free to join us and partner with us in our future initiatives as well. Yeah,
so if you guys have a toothpaste, a toothbrush that you're not using, or anything, a sock, that you think it's still in a good condition, for someone to have, then you're welcome. Do you take second hand items, let's say clothes that are pre-owned, but that are still in a good condition as well?
Absolutely, sir.
So you're welcome, guys, to also do that. If you have that vest that doesn't fit you anymore but it's still in a good condition, please just rally behind this project, and I'm sure would really appreciate all of you guys' efforts. 065 922 8572. Call this man, bother him, for just that act of goodwill, and I'm sure you had him there. He won't mind. And you can also just check them out on Facebook as well as Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation. My guest being Bonamelo Moloi, the founder of and the chairperson. Why am I excluding that? He's the founder and the chairperson of the Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation, and he joined us in the studio this morning for this discussion. We really appreciate you coming on, sir.
I really appreciate the time, and I really appreciate you opening me up to your listeners as well. And hopefully they find this a worthy cause to support.
Yeah, no, most definitely. We'll also invite you back and just take stock as the year starts. And I'm sure you said you're not basically focusing on one thing and you're not events based. So
Correct.
We'll come through we'll curate some of those interventions within communities. And if you are also a company or, a sponsor, someone that can rally behind such acts as well, please come through. If you are a foundation as well that is doing similar work, I'm sure you guys won't wouldn't mind teaming up with them as well. Check them out. They are Bonamelo Melisizwe Foundation, but on the social pages, Facebook, active there, 065 922 8572. If you want to contribute, just get in touch with the man, Bonamelo Moloi. That prophetic name, prosperity. That's what he said it means. Yeah, but thank you very much for coming through.
Really appreciate it, my good sir.
Awesome. Thank you.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.